let's hang out while I finish this canvas that I'm doing of my granddaughter Jesslyn, and see if it's going to be finished in 30 minutes like I think. I had my palette from yesterday. Here's actually the blue palette I was using. I mean my paper plate palette. Here's my palette from the day before. I don't think I'm going to be using any of those colors, but I'll just use this plate and maybe put out some lighter skin tones and things like that. And I'm putting this one back in the Ziploc to keep it fresh. Normally, if I was at home, I would be using a wet palette. I don't have a wet palette with me, so this is what we're using. This is Master's Touch Flesh Yellow. It's pretty dark for a skin tone. This one's just known as Master's Touch Flesh. And I think I got these at Michael's. See, that one's a lot lighter. I'm going to put out a little extra because I do still have the other paintings behind me that I'll use the excess on before I stop for the day. We're definitely going to need some white. This is golden titanium white. I'm going to put out a decent amount of that because I'm going to need it for the door on the picture of Shelton, for the snow in the other picture. So I know I'll use that today. Before I end my day, I'll try to use up most of these colors. I don't have all of my colors with me. Oh, I didn't mean to get that much. This is Golden Van Dyke Brown Hue. And this one is Golden CP Cadmium Red Dark. And I'm thinking about the brick I'm going to need in a minute. But I'm just going to go ahead and put these out. But I'll show you what I'm going to do in a minute too. I know I'm going to need a yellow. This is what I have. The Blick Cad Yellow Medium. And I'm going to get some of this Blick Quinacridone Magenta. That blue's dry, so that doesn't matter. And I'm going to get just a tad of this Artist Loft. And I don't ever remember which one's from Hobby Lobby and which one's from Michael's. But she's a little girl. She's going to like a little bit of touch of something bright on her dress. So we're going to put it. So that's the palette I'm going to be working with. And I just have a wad of brushes and palette knives, and I'll sort of show you as I go. Okay. The first thing to me that's going to make Jesslyn seem more like Jesslyn is going to be the blonde hair and then the flowers on her little dress. So that's where I'm going to start. And what I'm going to, and there's not enough room here, I don't think, under the camera to do all that. Oh, and I just have this old bottle that I'm using. Let me show you this, because I'm not going to use some of this paint for a little while. I'm just going to mist a tad of water over them, and that'll help to keep it a little more fluid, because these are heavy body paints, which is just what I prefer. I'm trying to stay loose with this, so I'm trying to hold on to the far end. You know, you have, let me see, really long handles and short handles. Whenever you're sitting down and you're trying to do something straight down, or even on the easel, that's when you want your short handles. When you're standing up and you're working on your big easel, that's when you want your long handles so you can hold it and be farther away. So we're going to use the short handle on this, and we may use a smaller one for details in a minute in the hair, but this is still going to be abstract, so it really doesn't matter. But this is a Deco Fine Detail number 2 round. Love these brushes. And these are just cheap brushes that, you know, come out of sets. Generally, I really like the Turquoise Iris set. I can't tell if this is it or not, but I've about used them all up, and I just grabbed some to go with me. So I'm going to, most blonde hair is not just yellow, which it could be in this style of picture, but we're not going to let it be. It's usually, especially near the roots, a little bit darker. This almost is actually the color of her hair. The color of her hair did not need or have any blue in it, but I had blue on my brush when I was wanting to use up the white and put down the hair, or the placement for the hair last night. And yellow is one of those colors that tends to show everything underneath. So I put the white for when we put yellow later, it would have a base of something to go on. I'm going to hopefully not regret this. I'm getting just a tad of the Van Dyke Brown, and I'm going to mix it in with this just for up by the roots, just because that's more natural, even though at 6 years old she doesn't have roots per se. It still adds depth to the hair. So sort of around her face a little bit, and through what'll be the deepest areas of the hair, we're going to put a little bit of the darker color. I keep wanting to think that's a puppy or something, and it's not. It's the shadow of that tree trunk that hasn't quite taken form yet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead with the lighter of the flesh tones and get the first coat of that on here. Or the first coat of the lighter one. We know we have the darker one on here, but we're trying to be a little more colorful and abstract with this. You can think about where the sun would be coming from, like on the arms. We're saying the sun's coming here, so actually on the outer part of this arm would be your lighter color. This side of her face. I got a little bit too much water on there, but that's okay because this face is going to have many more coats on it. So then it would be maybe a little bit on this side of the arm, but that side would be darker. I'm not trying to completely cover up, even though I did a little too much here. There we go. What I did was spray too much water on it and then come directly on here with, instead when I rinsed my brush. That's okay. I go ahead and come with some yellow in her hair a little bit. This is when it gets a little more fun. Notice I'm not at this point using like a tiny little liner brush trying to get every little hair. This is more abstract and it doesn't require that kind of detail. Makes it my kind of painting. Gonna have fun and not stress over it. Okay. Looking better already. Normally at this point at home, I would blow dry it a little bit to keep going. I really actually like how the trees turned out. I don't mind how the ground turned out. But I just need to work on her because she's the focus of the painting. And let's work on her little flowers. This is the most detail I'm going to do in the painting, is doing the flowers on her dress, and that's only because I'm having a good time with it. See how, let me show you one more thing real quick. See how dark it looks through there? This titanium white is very opaque. You can't see through it. So it would be smarter on my behalf, and I have way too much water on my brush, to come through and put placeholders for where we want the flowers to be using the white, and that's going to make our colors brighter in a minute, and you'll be able to compare it with those, which are on the shadow side, so that's going to be okay just to leave those there. If not, you paint over them. This is going on pretty thick here, so it's going to be a little while before it dries.